Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cybersecurity Weekly. I'm your host, Fred Cobb, Executive Vice President and CISO at InfoSystems. And luckily for me, I have Garrett Boyd, Cybersecurity Consultant at InfoSystems, hanging out with me today. Garrett, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me, Fred. Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, this is something I know you and I have been discussing as regular viewers of the show realize or no, we're going through the CIS controls sort of in sequence. So we are kind of stepping right through those. But we wanted to take a pause and throw in another episode because this is something very important. And again, something that came to light just this week. We happen to use, a lot of us use Firefox as one of our browsers, and Firefox released a critical vulnerability bulletin with a patch just this week. Gary, you want to speak to that briefly, then we'll start talking about third-party patching in general.
Yeah, sure, Fred. Mozilla put out a notice for everyone that versions pre 77.0 where they found multiple vulnerabilities that would potentially allow for remote code execution. Depending on the user or administrator, whatever access they basically had, would kind of depend on how successful the attack may be. But let's say if you're an admin, you could potentially, if you were exposed, programs could be installed on your behalf, data could be deleted. They could just really run rampant on your system. So again, one of the other things to definitely keep your third-party software is up to date, but also control your user and admin rights on your systems.
Yes, indeed. That's good information. Yeah, so got us thinking. A lot of folks are very diligent, and it's great if you are on the the Microsoft patches that come out. The old Patch Tuesday, where the patches are released. Of course, you have Exploit Wednesday, so now the bad guys know about all the vulnerabilities that Microsoft has released patches for. So it's this game, from month to month, trying to outpace to win the race against exploits that the bad guys out there are developing and launching against your systems. But even if you're diligent about patching on the Microsoft side of things, it's rare. When you say it's rare, Garrett, to have an average desktop or laptop that is only Microsoft applications. Is that rare?
Yeah, it's like a unicorn, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be just the Windows OS using Edge, I guess now as the browser, and having not having Adobe, not having any other third-party browser, not having I guess maybe QuickTime or maybe some
Java.
Some Java. That's another common one. So even if you are pretty locked down, you're very Microsoft centric. You're going to probably be running applications that aren't getting patched when you're doing your typical Patch Tuesdays. Now, for those of you that are employing some sort of more robust patching mechanism than just WSUS, you may be already capturing that third-party patch and you're pushing that out. But for a lot of you out there, it's just something that, I guess I'll be doing that. You don't really think about it. So we're all caught up in this Microsoft-centric way of doing things with their patching. Is that fair to say those are often overlooked?
Yeah, certainly, Fred. And it's, as individual end users, I mean, certainly everyone out there remembers when they get a pop-up on the notifications bar on their computer saying Java needs to be updated or Adobe has an update need to install. Well, you're not the only one getting those notifications, and several people aren't updating them, when they get notified for that. So the ability to be able to automate that task is essential for security.
Absolutely. I've been last couple of minutes here we're talking about Windows operating system, but I'll admit it, I'm a big Mac user and have a lot of Macs that we have on our network, and I'm a Mac user at home as well. So even though it's not as frequent that Apple releases patches for the Mac OS, still the same thing holds true with the third-party applications. I run Mozilla on a Mac, at least one Mac that I have. So as soon as I saw the alert, I checked the version of Mozilla that I'm running, Firefox, and true true to form, I needed the update. So it was painless to do the update, about a minute or so. But had I not been paying attention to that, I may have gone months or forever without that being an update that could avoid some pain down the road. So certainly something to be cognizant of.
We'll be back with the Cybersecurity Weekly podcast after we pause for this special message. Security analysts believe cyber attacks will continue to escalate throughout 2020 and are recommending that every company, regardless of industry or size, place immediate focus on cybersecurity training and the tools that will protect you from these attacks. Did you know that you can book a cybersecurity assessment right now with Fred Cobb's team of cybersecurity engineers at InfoSystems? They will help you discover exactly where you are most vulnerable to a cyber attack and make recommendations on how to strengthen your defense in those areas. This is urgent. It's an issue that affects everyone in our community. Visit the InfoSystems website at www.infosystems.biz to request your cybersecurity assessment. Now back to the podcast.
Talk a little bit about the list of approved software, Garrett. How can that help to control the need or the frequency in which we need to patch third-party applications?
Yes. When you're doing your software inventory, I think it's mentioned earlier in the CIS controls where you take your software inventory, you have that baseline of what is authorized in your environment. There's the ongoing list, an ongoing scan that you need to review as an administrator and see, okay, well, there's a new application that's been introduced, or this person installed a new application. It's not authorized. So to go about uninstalling that application, the third-party patching, definitely great. Automated use of that is great. But once you identify those third-party softwares that are unauthorized in your environment, just uninstall them. That alleviates the need to update them as required or as needed. Just basically taking that inventory, finding out what's authorized and unauthorized. It just takes a sit down, a little time to address those software packages.
Yeah, I think the other side of the coin is too, there may be software you identify, do that software inventory, pardon me, and you determine that, hey, this is needed. There's somebody in the environment that needs to run this package that requires this application. So I need to have a strategy around supporting that. So if it is on the approved list, make sure that, as system administrators, network administrators, that you have a means to periodically check for required updates, particularly security updates for that third-party software, and get into a good cadence with each and every one of those. So you're doing some sort of regular updates. And again, with focus on the security updates, particularly the critical ones, you need to get those on there as soon as possible. Some of the, third-party software deployment tools that we see out there in the field for doing, non-Microsoft patches, come to mind. You got SolarWinds, Landesk. There are a couple more out there that you see.
Manage Engine, Patch Manager is one. ConnectWise Automate has a third-party application tool that you can purchase. Several different vendors out there. And most of those vendors, you can go on their website and see supported products. So, if you have that application in your environment, you're wondering if it will get third-party patches, well, go to the website and find out. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah, and previous lives I've used Shavlik. I've personally used Ninite Pro. Those are a couple of good ones out there too that will do non-Microsoft patches on Microsoft operating systems. So there's plenty of choices out there to assist you in getting a process built and an application install that will allow you to patch these third-party products that you have out there running. Just wanted to mention that to the folks out there that are listening. When you're doing your patching, try to be holistic in your thinking and making, to make sure that you're covering all of those things that might be out there on your software inventory list that have fallen behind on critical security patches, because that can be exploited just as easily as a Microsoft vulnerability where you're missing a patch there. Is that a fair statement, Garrett?
Yeah, that's definitely correct, Brad.
Okay, well, short and sweet information on third-party patching, but we wanted to discuss that briefly since it was top of mind since the the Mozilla Firefox patches came out this week, and we had a big need to make sure everybody was up to date internally, as well as for those of us at home that use that particular browser. So certainly pay heed to the information out there on those third-party applications. But we can call it a wrap on that particular topic. Garrett, thank you for hanging out and discussing this with me. And for those of you that are out there listening, thank you again for your patronage. We'll keep these topics coming, and hopefully it's some valuable information that we're sharing with you that you can use out there to make your lives a little easier in your support of all things cybersecurity. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, everyone.